welcome to another episode of the podcast. My name is Jimmy Rex, and today I have one of probably the man most responsible for changing my business life more than anybody else. This is my real estate coach, but not just my real estate coach, the premier, in my opinion, coach in the whole United States. This is Bill Pipes.
Hey guys, how are you?
So, Bill, I met Bill when I first got in the industry. I mean, probably 12, 13 years ago. Bill was one of the first coaches I ever met. And in fact, I'm going to have an entire podcast that goes into that. But I want this one a little bit about you, because your story is so fascinating, and you've really became the premier guy to go to for all real estate agents in the United States. You currently work for the Tom Ferry Organization.
Yep. So yeah, I am my role, I have multiple roles at the Tom Ferry Organization. I am the head trainer for all the coaches. So I'm responsible for all the curriculum of training 154 business consultants who represent about 6,000 clients.
So you have 6,000 people being coached by 150 coaches,
yep.
And you are in charge of the 150 coaches.
I'm making sure that they do what they're supposed to do, and they produce results and breakthroughs for the clients that we have. So then in addition to that, though, I also lead a course that's called Sales Edge, which you're familiar with, which is a straight influence, script, dialogue, teaching great real estate agents how to actually be great salespeople and run their business effectively.
Perfect. And so Bill, we're lucky enough that he actually lives here in Utah, not from Utah, from California?
Yeah, it's sort of interesting. I moved to California. I was from Southeast Texas, a little town called Kirbyville. Look it up on a map. If you find it, I'll pay you $100, man. So $500. But moved to California, met Mike Ferry at that time.
Yep.
Right?
And so for people listening, if you're not in the real estate world, this is going to be part of our real estate series. We're going to interview some of the top real estate people here in the state of Utah. Mike Ferry has kind of been known for, the last 30 years. Basically, the people he trains average sell over 50 homes per year, which the industry average is probably 5 or 6 a year. Yep. And so Mike's kind of been the guy. And then his son, Tom, worked for him. Tom is now, I think, the #1 coach. Whatever the most influential people in the United States, they do this poll every year, and Tom is now top 25 most influential people in the country, and you're his right-hand guy, #1.
Yeah.
And so you worked with Tom for how many years now?
Gosh, Tom and I have worked together since I was 21 years old.
21.
Yeah.
But you joined his organization about 5 years ago. Before that, you were the head trainer for Keller Williams nationally.
Yeah, we did bold classes. And I got the chance to work directly with Gary Keller, who is the founder of Keller Williams. And then before that, I got the chance to be Mike Ferry's right-hand man. So I've had, I believe 100% in the importance of having mentorship and guidance. And really, I believe in R&D, baby. I want to rip off and duplicate.
Well, my favorite thing about you is you only train agents that sell over 100 homes or more a year. Yeah. And so the thing that you've done very well for me and for all of your clients is you always have us talk to each other, and you have us meet with each other. And so I am getting basically mentored from agents all over the country that aren't in my market, so they're willing to share exactly what they're doing. And this is where my business really blew up for me personally. But this is kind of the genius of what you've done is you've taken all these things from all these different clients that you coach.
Yep.
And so tell us a little bit about how did you get into coaching? Where did you, why did you go that route versus becoming?
Brother, it is the most for me, it's sort of funny because I went to school to actually get my PhD in comparative literature. So okay. I saw the movie Dead Poets Society, and I'm like, dude, I want to inspire the minds of young people. And I remember Mike Ferry at the time. We're going to the movies, and we dropped a couple of people off, and he grabs my arm. He goes, "No, we're going to have some Bill and Mike time." And I thought at that time, because if any of you know Mike Ferry, he's a pretty
well, I'll just give you an example. The first time I ever met Mike in person, he was giving a big seminar, about 4,000 people, and you could go up to a mic and ask him a question. And this poor lady goes up there and asks him a question about building her business. And Mike said, "Come here real quick, come up on the stage." And I don't know if you were there or not, but she had flaming red hair. She had dyed it red. This wasn't her natural red. This was like red, like an apple is red. And he said, "What the hell's wrong with you? It doesn't matter what I tell you today, because if you show up at somebody's home with that hair, they're not going to work with you anyway. Get out of here. Go get a haircut and come back. That's the most important thing you can do."
Dude, and I love having people in my life, like Mike, who call it the way that it is. So
love it.
Here I was going to school, get my PhD. Mike said, "Come and work for me for 2 years." And I said, "Okay, great." And I thought about it. And then, to be honest, he threw a bunch of money my way,
Sure.
and I said, "Okay, good. I'm going to go for 2 years." And I stepped into a position where, I was already making what I would have close to capped out as a professor.
Wow. Okay.
And here I am. I'm 24 years old, and I'm getting to learn from the #1 leading, industry leader in terms of real estate training and personal growth and development. I mean, Mike Ferry was trained by Earl Nightingale. Earl Nightingale was trained by Napoleon Hill. Napoleon Hill had Andrew Carnegie. You look at the lineage, and I said, well, that's stupid.
I'm part of that lineage now too. Man. It kind of makes me and I take pride in that. Yeah. I know it goes Andrew Carnegie, Napoleon Hill.
It goes Ferry. Then Nightingale. And then Hill, and then Carnegie. Andrew Carnegie, from like the richest man.
I know, and so that's my own lineage. I'm very proud.
That's your lineage.
Yeah. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, totally. So jumped in. It fit for me. I realized that my desire that I had to be able to help inspire and create breakthroughs in the lives of young people was actually being facilitated. That desire was being fulfilled upon for me based upon me teaching real estate agents how to be better professionals, how to be able to earn more income, and ultimately become a better person.
Sure.
So it was same conversation, different venue. So
awesome. And so you worked for Mike. I mean, to have that honor, I mean, for anybody that's listening to this that's in the real estate industry, you understand what an honor it would be to be personally mentored by Mike. And it takes a special person, because Mike isn't for everybody. In fact, Tom, his son, has found a great niche of people that are kind of want to be led a different way, essentially. Because Mike's very pick up the phone, make calls for 4 hours, follow up, know the scripts, and it's very no BS.
And Tom and I believe there's no bad way to run a business.
Correct.
As long as you run it profitably. If you want to run a business based on open houses, great. Let's build the strategy around that. We got the strategy. So Tom,
I love that line from Tom. Is there's no bad way to get a good lead. I use it for dating and for real estate. So
there have been some bad dates.
Yes,
cool.
For sure.
Awesome,
and so you worked for Mike for a while, and then tell us a little bit about your transition, because Keller Williams came and they recruited you.
Recruited me.
Keller Williams is the #1 company in the nation now for agent-wise, the number of agents. And
I remember walking into Gary Keller's office, and he had 3 of Mike Ferry's books. And I'd sort of gotten everything that I wanted from Mike.
Sure.
Right? And it was just sort of, it wasn't fresh anymore.
As me as an agent, same thing.
You went through that.
Mike's my first mentor, and I love him. But I got to a point where it was like, okay, I could give Mike speeches at this.
You could tell the jokes.
Yeah,
you knew exactly
I literally was sitting there with one of my agents one time, because I'd always bring my new agent to listen to Mike. And I literally was finishing all of his jokes.
Totally. So Gary held the books up and said, this isn't selling real estate. Let me teach you what selling real estate is. And so I got the chance to actually, learn from him, learn from Diana Kokoska, Tony DeCello. I mean, just some amazing, amazing individuals inside the industry. And that's, when I look at what has been the greatest blessing I've had in life, it's been I have surrounded myself with people who are doing more than me. And I've been dumb enough to actually put my ego aside and just learn from them. Does that make sense?
That's great. Yeah, I hope people listening caught that, because I think a lot of times people see a finished product too, right? And you always were seeking out somebody to teach you more, somebody to help you, and you found the best in the entire. I mean, Gary Keller, he's the author of The One Thing, if anybody's read that, but he's also built the biggest real estate company in the country.
In the country. And it doesn't stop. I mean, I'm now looking at what's the next step for me. Who's the next mentor that I'm looking for? It's a gentleman by the name of Dan Pena that I've known. My mother knew for years. Now, Dan Pena, they call him the $500 billion man, because he has raised $500 billion worth of capital for businesses and built them. And so now that's I've got him in my target. I'm like, that's my next mentor. So I'm not waiting for the mentor to show up. I know what the next step is, because the goal is move from what I'm doing now to doing more venture capital. That's the game. And so
I love that.
I don't know that much about it, but who does? And I find that person. I say, okay, I'm a sponge. I'm 46 years old, right? Teach me everything that you know.
Well, and that's so good. And so many people come to me all the time. And they're like, I love how you do real estate. I love how you market. You do it so different from everybody else. And I laugh, because I didn't come up with any of this.
Yeah.
I found mentors, a lot of them through you, that basically taught me all these things that I've done differently than other agents. The way I've built my business and my clientele and built that trust with them all came from other people, similar to what you're saying. Yeah. And so I guess now that you've been in this for a long time, I think a lot of people, I never heard of what a coach before. I went to the first seminar that I went to, and all of a sudden, and it blew my mind that people were paying this much when I first heard. But tell us a little bit about the coaching industry. What have you seen? What are the benefits for people listening to the podcast of having a coach in any part of your life? Because I have you as my real estate coach still to this day. I have a business coach that teaches me other business type things. And then I have a relationship coach. I'm not even in a relationship, but I have somebody, and she's amazing.
By the way, I'm reading that book.
Excellent.
I am reading that book. What is it called? Open Her. Open Her. I was reading it last night.
Very much about how to treat women the way they want to be treated, as opposed to what we think as men naturally. And so,
brilliant.
And then I also have a life coach through the Tony Robbins organization. And so it's just, I believe in the power of mentorship. But tell us what you've seen, because you've seen so many lives change. As a coach, what is it that makes it so?
Do you know what? Let me start here. It seems like everyone now is a coach. Like, honestly, someone has a little bit of success and they go, oh, I'm going to coach, right? And so to a certain degree, coaching industry has been bastardized, right? It's been made so that people hear about coaching and they go, oh, I knew someone who did it once upon a time, or this person. And it's really been diluted, right? It's really been diluted. At the core, what it is when you think about, I got some of my favorite people in the background here. Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan was a great basketball player, right? Played for Dean Smith at the University of North Carolina. They ended up winning a championship, right? Goes to the Chicago Bulls. He had Doug Collins, had Collins as his coach. They lost. They got their butt handed to them every single, in the Eastern Conference playoffs by the Detroit Pistons over and over again. But in walks this gentleman by the name of Phil Jackson, right? And Phil Jackson says, okay, we're going to switch things up a little bit. We're going to work on the mental side of the game. We're going to create a new strategy called the triangle offense. And at that point, the next year, what happens is they beat the Detroit Pistons. They go on, they win their first of 6 championships, all of which with Phil Jackson, Phil Collins, Susudio, right?
He was probably there in the stands.
Somewhere in the stands. And then you take, Phil Jackson, put him with another team, put him with the Los Angeles Lakers. The Lakers go on to win, 5 championships, 6 championships. And so, for me, I look at that and I go, if the greatest individuals and the greatest talent in the world have someone that, look, Phil Jackson was probably not telling Michael Jordan too much that he didn't know, but he was keeping him on the rails. You know what I mean? Yeah. And for me, I look at it and I go, talent plus the right coach plus the right strategy, you win freaking championships, man. Otherwise, you can look at many, and you probably don't even know their names because of the fact that they didn't have an appropriate coach or a coach at all. Someone more talented than Michael Jordan, and never ended up fulfilling upon what was their ability and their God-given right for wealth and abundance because of the fact that they didn't have someone guiding them, period. And so for me, that works in sport, it works in business. Fortune 500 companies will pay consultants millions and millions of dollars to come in to see the blind spots. And that's the thing that I think for me, a lot of my coaches do, and for myself and our coaches do for the real estate industry, is all human beings have blind spots. You have things that you don't even recognize about yourself that are holding you back. You ever been on a freeway, been driving, and you go to switch lanes, and as you go to switch lanes, you think, oh, it's all clear, and then you hear, wah, right? And you go, oh my gosh, how did I miss that semi? Well, psychologically, we have blind spots, the ego being designed to actually keep you alive. And that's one of the key things to think about, is that the ego...
Talk about that a little bit more, because you've explained that to me, and it's powerful.
So the mind is a survival mechanism, period. That's all that it is designed to do. It isn't designed to have you accomplish goals. It isn't designed to have you have breakthroughs. In fact, it's designed not to have you have breakthroughs. It's designed to keep you alive. And if you look at the fundamental changes that human beings have in order to have a breakthrough, they've got to get uncomfortable, right? You've got to get yourself outside your comfort zone. In fact, all change occurs outside the comfort zone.
Right.
Well, all of a sudden the mind goes, outside the comfort zone is potentially something that could kill me. Like, the mind looks 7 moves.
And unfortunately, the mind is old, too, so it thinks things that aren't going to kill us are going to kill us, and it prevents us from doing the simplest things as going to talk to a woman we find attractive, or going
picking up the phone and
find a prospect,
or,
exactly.
Or trying a new business, idea. How many times have we had these great ideas and we're nervous? Oh my gosh, what if I do it? And what if I fail and it doesn't work? And then how am I going to feel? And then all of a sudden, dude, like 6 weeks later, a year later, we see our idea with someone else's face on it, right? That had the ability to be able to go, to control their mind. So when you get that the mind is not your friend, it doesn't care about your goals, it only cares about one thing, which is survival, then you realize, I need to have some type of structure around me that's going to push me outside my comfort zone. Now, what do we do as coaches? What does a coach do? What does a trainer do? Like, think about it. We've had the same trainer.
Sure.
What does Lattice? Hey, big shout out to Jason Lattice. Love you, man.
Yep.
Yeah. What does Lattice do? When we're done with that rep, right? He says, one more. or 2 more. And then we do 2 more. And what does he say? One more,
One more,
right?
yeah.
No, 1 more. He gets us outside of our comfort zone. So when you look at the mind not being structured for you to be able to succeed, you've got to have some strategies in place that are going to force you to get outside of what is comfortable for you and work against the natural strain of the mind.
That's great. Yeah. Well, and it's what, you know, and I think Mike was the one who first said this the first time I heard it, Mike Ferry. Again, he said, you know, he said the number one quality you can have is to put yourself in situations where you work on versatility.
Totally.
Do things that make you uncomfortable all the time.
Yeah.
And I've tried to do that my entire life. And it's because of that, I've exposed myself to people, ideas, places, and events that I otherwise never would have done. And some of my greatest rewards have come from that uncomfortability. Because there is growth when you get outside of, like, you know, so many people get caught, I think, in a day-to-day routine or this comfortability, and they forget, you know, what makes life exciting and passionate and that variety.
It's what makes you alive.
Yes.
Like that's where life is. Life, you know, for me is on the edge. It's not, you know, we're similar.
Yeah.
You know, climbing Kilimanjaro, making a commitment to climb the 7 peaks, you know, which is, you know, like jumping out of hot air balloons, bungee jumping, you know, backcountry skiing, all of that. You know, what are we striving for? We're striving for this feeling of being alive, right? And so for me, why is it not the same thing? You know, why are you not using that to create this feeling of being alive, right? And so what I do, dude, is I just push gently, subtly, and get people to put themselves in those situations. You know what I mean? And then what's beautiful about it is you do one thing that scares you, that you're nervous about, whether it's in your business, your personal life, you know, physically, emotionally, spiritually. You do that one thing, and you come back and you go, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was.
There's an art to, like, getting that fulfillment, knowing that, like, wait, that was a hard thing. I did it, and now I'll do the next hard thing.
Yeah.
You know, as the marathon I just ran. You know, I just ran a marathon recently, and I mean, the idea of me, I'd never in my life had ran over 5 miles. Yeah. But I just said, I'm going to do this. And at the end of the marathon, like, you realize, like, wow, I can do really hard things. The mind overtakes my body.
But you know what? Let's hit on that for a second, right? Because people look at you and they go, "Oh my gosh, Jimmy!" Like 2 weeks before the New York Marathon, I remember you called me. You're like, "Run the New York Marathon." I'm like, "Are you crazy, man? You haven't trained?"
Yeah.
You know? But people see that and go, "Oh, that's Jimmy Rex. Of course he can do it, right?" But what they don't see are all of the other small commitments that you made and followed through on that were difficult, right? That led up to the ability for you to go, you know what? I've done all of these things, and it isn't conscious, it's unconscious, where you go, I can do this, right? And I think people, this is really critical, man. So, you know, let's move off of coaching. Let's just talk.
Yeah, no. There's no rules to this interview.
Yeah, let's talk personal development, man.
Yeah.
Okay? People think that they have to make enormous changes in order to be able to have a life that they love and a life that's fulfilling. But the reality is, and I learned this from Jim Rohn, who was Tony Robbins' mentor, right? Yep. And I never met Jim Rohn, but I call him a mentor because I had the chance to listen to him over and over and over and over again. And what Jim Rohn said is, success is small disciplines implemented over time, right? That's what causes huge breakthroughs. And people who are probably listening, you have big goals. We have things that we want to do, but it's not going to take a huge, like, blinding flash of the obvious, Paul on the road to Damascus type of thing. It's going to take small disciplines that you implement over time. You know, what was it Wayne Dyer said? No pressure, no diamonds.
No diamonds, sure.
You know?
Well, I'll give an example of this podcast. Like, I wanted to do this for about 2 years. I wanted to just kind of have more influence. I wanted a bigger platform to share the things that I've learned, because I've had amazing mentors and coaches. I feel very lucky. I'm literally, you name the top 5 minds in the real estate industry, 4 of them, including yourself, have personally coached me, personally. Yeah. And I just want to share stuff that I've learned, and as I study and read books, I wanted to get a bigger platform. And it was funny because I would listen to, like, Gary Vee, and I was so, like, it was just like this huge chunk of, like, wait, how do I go from, like, this guy that nobody knows to, like, if I want to have true influence? Yeah. And it was like, little by little, I realized, look, once I focus on what I want, and then it's just doing little things over and over. Just like you said, there was no giant leap, but over the past year, I've been putting this thing together, and now it's like we have 23 episodes of a podcast.
Do you remember, we're on a coaching session, and it's the first time we started talking about video. I'm like, bro, you got to shoot a video.
Yeah, for like a year you were trying to.
Yeah, I'm like, you got to shoot a video. You got to shoot a video.
Yeah.
I'm sitting here.
You were ahead of the curve because you were talking about buying one of those little video flip phone things.
flip.
Yeah,
I
it was
don't
like if
remember
you had
the
one of those now,
technology.
people would think you were playing with an Atari. You know?
Yeah,
I mean, that
no
thing's so
kidding.
ancient. But yeah, that's when you
Flip cam.
Yeah, you
That's what it
basically were
was.
begging me to make videos, and
Yeah.
I was like, nobody's gonna watch my videos.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to watch video, but turns out they do.
Yeah. So I think if we're talking success, right? Because really, what is coaching about? It's about how you can fulfill upon your ability for success. I think number one is like we talked about, recognize that your mind, you're going to have to work against it, and it never goes away. You know what I mean? It never goes away.
Yeah.
You're always, and that's why I believe in affirmations, every single day. I love the Tony Robbins affirmation. Right now, I am the voice. I will lead, not follow, create, not destroy, believe and not doubt. I'm a force for good. I'm a force for God. I'm a leader. Defy the odds. Set a new standard. Step up, step up, step up. Every morning I say that.
Wow, and you can tell that you that's into your subconscious. Like
It's
that
there.
just came out. Like that was amazing.
Yeah, my kids do it.
Well, the fact that it's into your subconscious, though, your mind all day long then is searching for things to validate those thoughts that you've already created.
Yeah.
That's how it works. When you get yourself inside your own mind to think a certain way, obviously, that's what your mind searches for all day.
Yeah.
When you focus on a certain thing of like who you're going to be or how you're going to be. So what a powerful affirmation.
And brother, my self-doubt, and any successful individual that says they don't have self-doubt, they're full of shit.
Oh, totally.
Like my coach, a gal by the name of Teresa Jabor right now, brilliant woman. She said, the thing that all of you individuals who are highly, highly successful have in common is you think no one else doubts themselves who's at the same level that you are. And you should know that every single person that I coach has self-doubt. So I'll be walking on stage, getting ready to walk on stage.
Because you speak in front of, how many days out of the year are you actually speaking in front of large crowds?
70 to 100.
Yeah.
And it's anywhere from 500 to 6,000,
Yeah.
right? And every time that I walk on stage, I do that mantra, right? Because my mind goes, what if this is the first one you completely screw up? And I go, boom, game on, let's go, right?
Yes.
So to control that, what I call, my buddy Matthew Ferry, right? Another great coach, a friend of mine, calls it your drunk monkey.
Yep.
Your mind is your drunk monkey. And what you want to think about is, imagine that you leave a monkey loose at your house. He gets drunk, drinks alcohol. What happens? You come back to the house is completely torn up. There's poop everywhere, you know what I mean? And that's a symbol of what happens to your mind if it's untrained. So you've got to train it. So that's why, like I was saying, affirmations, what you read, what you're listening to. Dude, the people that you hang out with, I think, is one of the, not sure if any of the other people that you've interviewed with have talked about this, but I guard the people that I let into my life, because I recognize, and I'm teaching my son Liam this right now too. He's 11 years old. I'm like, dude, the number one choice that you're going to make in your life is going to be the people that you surround yourself with, because the decisions that you make, what you accept as normal or abnormal, like the people that you end up, the woman that you end up marrying, whatever, like all that's going to come based upon the people the income that you earn. What's the old saying? You'll
be the product of the 5 people you spend the most time with, or the average. Your income will be the average of the 5 people you hang out with the most. And it's so true. Like I've seen it in my own life, because I seek out people that are doing things much greater than myself, because I want to experience life on that level, right? And I'm always like, if you're ever the smartest guy in the room, you need to find a new room.
That's totally.
I always try to seek out people that are doing much greater than I am, and it's just amazing, like how when you bring those people into your life, you're exposed to ideas and thoughts, and you're not allowed to play small because you feel uncomfortable in the room. I think that people from a spiritual standpoint, I think that like heaven, there's like these little different areas, and it's like you're not going to want to be in the room with all the most spiritual people if you were like a wacko, right?
Yeah,
and it's like the same kind of uncomfortability. Anytime you're like, if I had a buddy that like didn't have a job and he's hanging out with me and my friends, we're all doing huge things and big ideas, and we're always pushing each other. He wouldn't want to hang out very long because he's going to feel uncomfortable and feel like a loser in the group. So
either they elevate or they leave.
That's right.
They elevate or they leave. And I know for myself, there's certain people that when I hang out with, I'm bitching, complaining, and moaning, and it's not, that is nowhere close to who it is that I am, but they bring out that portion of me, man, that's there. So, from the affirmations of what you're reading to who you're associating with to, watching, what you're watching, all of that is garbage. It's garbage in, garbage out. But instead of garbage in, garbage out like a computer, it's good input in. And then now you condition your mind that when you look at the same situations, because here's the thing I know and that I believe is that the world is the way the world is, right? However, if I can train my mind, the way I view the world is going to change the world for me. Change the way that you look at things and the things that you look at change. So I may come across some situation and one person goes, oh, this is a horrible situation. Whereas I come across it and go, look at this opportunity. Right?
That's great.
Yeah. What's the old story? There's two salespeople. Have you heard this?
I don't know. Share it because
two salespeople they go to Africa, right? And they're shoe salespeople, right? One person goes in and he looks around and he goes, "No one here is wearing shoes. There's no way to be able to actually make any money here." The second one, same situation, right? Comes in, goes to Africa, he goes, "Oh my gosh! Nobody here is wearing shoes. What an incredible opportunity." Same thing, just the way that you choose to look at it. Opportunity arises or barriers arise.
I love that. And when I was calling for sell by owners every day, that's when we were first coaching. That's how I built my business. I would try to teach other agents on my team how to call for sale by owners, and lots of times they'd come back and be like, these leads suck, they're a month old, nobody wants, and instead of going and calling with them, I would go take their exact list because I just wanted to show them, look, it's not the people, that's a mindset you have. These people have put a red sign in their yard saying, I want to move. They're going to sell their home, they're going to pick you or they're going to pick somebody else, and I just wanted, and I would, over and over, I would set appointments with the very people that they just told me we're never going to.
These people are never going to do anything, and you know what? God bless them. Let them keep thinking that.
Right.
You know what I mean?
So one of the things that that attracted me to coaching because when I got into the business, I was excited. I had energy, but I didn't know what to do. I didn't know who to call. I didn't know where to go. And I went to that first seminar that you were putting on. And I remember because the flyer that I got said, basically this is how you call for sale by owners and expired listings. These were all these things that I had wanted to learn that I didn't know how to do. And I went, and the first night you gave a homework. And the homework assignment was that, you gave us a script and kind of helped us with our skills. Yeah. And then I went home that night and did it, and I set 2 appointments. Yeah. I'd never done that. I mean, I'd had some people call me to buy real estate or whatever, but up to that point in my career, I'd never actually gone out and set an appointment using a skill. And so I think for me, eventually what got me to, where my first month coaching with you guys at that time, I ended up selling like 25 homes. Good. And it was, I just was soaking in. My skill set went from like a 1 to like a 7 overnight. And then it was like over the years, 8, 9, 10, Yeah. But talk a little bit about that. What is it about, I guess skills is a big part of an industry. Anytime you're in a sales industry or any work essentially, but especially with what you teach.
So dude, I believe in 3 things. We talked about it just now. I believe in a strong mindset. Yep. Number 2, I believe you have to have a strong skill set. And number 3, I believe you have to have the discipline and behaviors. You have to align your behaviors to your goals.
Very good.
If you look at number 2, which is the skill set, right? If you do not have great skills, then what will happen? I want you to think about it like a wheel, right? Mm-hmm. You got skills, you got mindset, you got your discipline. If you don't have great skills, they're down here, the wheel will get ground down to the lowest common denominator. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because if I get on the phone, let's say for example I'm a salesperson, I get on the phone, I don't know what to say, I could do all the affirmations I want, be listening to all the audio program, be totally hyped up, and then I completely, I'm just gonna say it, shit the bed.
Yeah,
you know
sure.
what I mean?
Yeah.
On the call, then I get off that call and my mindset has just completely gone down.
And I think that's where a lot of people, they don't even know what they don't know, right? Yeah. They get on these calls. I have so many agents that say they want to get to the level that you're at and all these things, but they get on the phone for like 1 or 2 days, and I say, and then they'll even call for a week sometimes, they're getting no leads, and I said, well, how many hours have you put in each day to your skills? I gave you the scripts, I gave you some people to role play with, and they never do. They just don't want to work on the skills.
So if let's go back to Jordan, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, again, favorite athlete of all time. What made him so great, Phil Jackson said, what made him so great was not the way he played the game. What made him so great was the way he practiced the game.
Wow.
Right? So, gets cut from his high school basketball team, goes to the janitor that worked at the gym, right, at his high school, said, I want to be able to actually come into the gym. The janitor said, I'm sorry. He goes, what time do you want to come in? You can come in at 8, school starts at 8:30. He goes, no, I want to come in at 5 o'clock. The janitor goes, no way. I'm not coming here. So Jordan breaks into the gym every single morning, figures out a way to get in, and dribbles the ball up and down the court in the dark.
Wow.
Right? And the janitor said that he could hear, like he'd come in and he'd hear ding, 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 ding. And so when you look at whatever your profession is, if you're a salesperson, if you're, or if a husband, a wife,
sure,
if you're an attorney, whatever your role is, dude, I believe we're all salespeople. Fundamentally, we are all salespeople.
100%.
100%. I go home to my wife tonight, right? I got to do some selling.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? If I want the night to end up great, man, I got to do some selling. If it doesn't end with the right outcome, I got to work on my presentation. You know what I mean? So, right? And so, but you know, all joking and kidding aside, as a father, I have to sell my kids on the way that I want them to grow up. As a husband, I have to sell my wife all the time on, you know, our relationship, where we're going, where we're growing, how we're doing it. As a leader in companies, I am constantly selling our coaches, the other C-level executives at our company on ideas and strategies. We are all salespeople. You know, these guys, you guys right here that are filming right now, man, you guys are all, you're salespeople as well too. You know what I mean? Or else you wouldn't be doing this. And so when you look at the basis of sales, if you don't have skills, if you don't have the skills, you're never going to produce the results. I don't care how good your mindset is. So how do you develop skills? Dude, you take your whatever script, whatever dialogue, whatever it is, and you drill it. Just like Jordan in the gym, dribbling the ball up and down until he was like, couldn't do it anymore. That's what you got to do.
Well, do you remember, you might not remember now, do you remember how I memorized all the scripts of what to say? I basically laminated them, and then I put them in my shower, because I knew I had at least 15 minutes every day
by yourself?
In my shower by myself that I could memorize scripts. And once I knew what to say, I could internalize it to my own words, and then I could deliver it in a powerful way that people, because I was young, 22, 23, 24 when I started, and you know, I had to go into people's homes that are 45, 50, 60 and convince them that I was the best choice for this biggest decision in their life, what they're going to buy or sell.
Biggest financial decision, I'm doing a survey of all the for sale by owners in there. I was wondering if you sold this home. I'll say you have to be there. What do you think?
That script will never get out of my mind, you know.
But and the beauty of it, and people always think of, and we're talking about skills, okay? So obviously we're talking about skills right now in the relationship to being able to have conversations with people to get them to buy or to get them to sell, you know, in real estate. But it's the same thing if you're a doctor. And I've got a good friend of mine, Charlie Marshall. He's an orthopedic surgeon, and you know why he is able to earn the income that he earns is because of the skill he's developed, right? Of being able to work on knees and hips and backs. And when you really understand that skill isn't something that happens, it's something you develop. And I talked to Charlie and I said, you know, how did you do this? He goes, I always watched the other individuals, right? The other doctors when I was coming up. Any opportunity that I had, I would jump in and be in with them in surgery as a second in command. You look at attorneys, the same thing is true. You know, like there's a skill that you have to develop inside of your industry. And there's so many people listening, I can't go just one industry, but identify what the skills are that you need and take an hour a day and work on that. Build it. If you're a leader, work on your influence with people so that you can, you know, inspire other individuals.
One thing I love about this interview right now is these are, as you saying all these things, it's like, this is how I built my own little business. And so it makes me happy to hear and to share that with other people. I mean, you are my mentor and my coach. And so, you know, hopefully people are taking good notes here. You go back and listen or whatever. But, well, so for people listening, we'll kind of, I know you got to get wrapping up.
Let's hit one more thing.
Please, okay? I would love to.
One more thing.
Please.
Because we've talked about number one is mindset. We talked about skills, you know what I mean? And just repetition. That's the key, guys, is whatever skill it is you're looking to develop, it's going to take you 67 to 90 days just to get some momentum. And that's a study that was done.
Well, and that's important not to get frustrated. Understand that it's going to take you 60 to 90 days doing it every day to get any good at it.
Do you know who Laird Hamilton is?
I don't.
Big wave surfer.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Okay,
Laird
Hamilton.
He was on the Tom Ferry show the other day.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, was he?
Yeah,
okay,
podcast,
very cool. So a couple years ago, actually, I say a couple years ago, it was almost 10 years ago. It's crazy. And my wife, Marcy, had a friend named Kimmy who worked for a company called Vans, and they were doing a session for a movie called, oh gosh, what was it? It wasn't Step Into Liquid, it was Riding Giants.
Okay.
Right? Great movie if you get the chance to watch it. Big wave surfing. Laird Hamilton, for those of you who don't know, he invented toe-in surfing, right? He and his crew. Anyway, there was a release party for the movie, and it was in Newport Beach, and it was at the Hard Rock Cafe.
Okay.
That's how long ago it was, because the Hard Rock's gone. Right? And we go in, and they said, do you want to go to the movie? I said, absolutely. So we go in and we walk in. I'm thinking maybe I'll get a chance to meet Laird, maybe I won't, right? And we walk in, and sure enough, there he is at the bar, right? And Marcy goes, you go talk to him. And I, like, my drunk monkey's like, don't say anything stupid, you're gonna screw this up. And I'm like, no, I'm okay. Look, there's a bunch of people over around next to him. And then all of a sudden, they all but one of them leave. And she goes, go speak to him now. And I'm like, no, I can't. She goes, you need to go do this. You're a professional speaker, for Christ's sake, right? And so I'm like, right? I walk over, Mr. Hamilton, you know, I'm Bill Pipes, and it's a pleasure to meet you. And we start having a really brief conversation. And acknowledge him for just what he's done in sports.
Yeah,
right? I mean, he's
the
arguably
guy.
he's arguably on the planet right now one of the greatest athletes.
Yeah.
You know, he and Jordan, you know, will
Yeah,
go down.
he is the Michael Jordan of his
He's
sport.
the Michael Jordan of his sport, of extreme sports. And I said, you know, I want to. You've been so successful at everything that you've done. Like he was a windsurfer, then he was a big wave surfer. Now he's doing stand-up paddleboarding, you know, and surfing. And married to Gabriella Reese, the incredible volleyball player, you know, the Olympic gold medalist. And I said, how have you been able to do it? And he said, I go, I want to bring this to my audience. He said, you know, it's really simple, Bill. He goes, when I start doing something, I realize it's not going to happen by next Tuesday. I realize this is a long-term process that I have to go through, right? And I asked him, I said, well, don't you ever get frustrated in the process? And he said, yeah, of course, I'm a human being. You know, human beings get frustrated. And I asked him, well, what is it that how do you keep yourself going? And he said, it's very simple. It's one phrase. And I said, well, what is it? He goes, success is about progress, not perfection.
Wow.
Success is about progress, not perfection. If I get a little bit better every single day, then I know that I'm moving closer towards my goal, right? And that I'm just going to progress a little bit every single time.
Well, that's great. And I know Tom Ferry says, you know, if you get 1% better every week,
1%?
By the end of the year, you're twice as good as you were.
Because it compounds.
Correct.
It's like
get
investing.
1% better every week of your life at whatever it is, your skills.
So we got mindset, we have skills, and the third, right? So watch, skills. You're going to have to put in the time, energy, and effort. You won't see the results at first. It's going to take you 60, 90 days before the skill even shows up, like working out. The third, though, is your behaviors. Where I see people really get off the tracks is they set these big goals, but what happens is they don't align their behaviors, right? So you've really got to look at your behaviors in terms of the disciplines that you engage in every single day to be able to support that overall bigger goal. Your discipline, I'm going to do a little video, a little bit of time every day.
Yeah, what I did to get this eventually launched, I said every Monday and every Thursday from 3:30 to 7, I'm going to schedule, I'm going to pay a crew to be there. So I better have something scheduled to do. And I just move that forward. And, you know, we get better and better as it goes. But that's a behavior now that we just know. I'll give a good example. You know, I think a lot of times you hear people that they make these big goals and different things, and then they don't change any behaviors. If you don't change anything, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over, getting the same result. But Tony Robbins, you know, people say, how do you get so much done? He does so many things, and he has a system called RPM, and the M stands for massive action. It's all about behaviors. He basically believes if I know what I want, and then I have my why big enough, all I need at that point is basically a massive action plan, which is just different sets of behaviors that get me to what I want to do.
And you know what, I'm not sure when this will play, but when you look at New Year's resolutions and you know, people want to make changes for the next year, I shot something on Facebook and I got like instantly 3,000 views, 29 shares, you know, it was like 300 and something likes and engagement, and you know, for my audience that was big. And the title was this. It was screw your goals. It's all about the behaviors, right? And what you've got to focus on isn't so much the goal. What you got to focus on is what are the behaviors that will make this goal a natural foregone conclusion. There's a study that was done for baseball players. You love baseball, right? And the baseball players that say, I want to bat 350. Right? And they put their focus 100% on bat 350, bat 350, bat 350, bat 350. When they did that, guess what happened to their batting average? It went down, right? Because they were putting so much pressure on themselves, and they were so focused on just, I didn't bat 350 this game and hitting that number. But when the ones that they took and they said, okay, like the coach said, I want you to focus on the behavior of keeping your shoulder down, right? Keeping your eye, seeing the seams on the ball, right? I gave them 2 or 3 behaviors that they need to focus on that would lead to that outcome, and that's what they focused on, not the 350. Then their batting average went up, right? So for everyone who's listening, for myself, what I found in people that I've coached and conducted 100 and some odd thousand coaching sessions with the top agents in the world is that you focus on the behaviors, not the results. Now, you use the results as a lag indicator to determine, do I need to switch those behaviors? Is there something that I need
Well, and
to
they'll
adjust.
tell a story. The numbers will tell a story, and that shows you. One of the reasons I tracked my numbers all the time when I was, calling for sub owners every day is I wanted to see what behaviors. If I was making the calls, if I was in the office on time, and I called 30, 40 people that day, and I set no appointments, I knew I had to work on my prospecting.
Totally.
If I set 4 appointments, but only 2 of them were there when I showed up, I had to work on my lead follow-up.
Yep.
If I went on 4 appointments and I closed 4, I knew where my skills were at.
Yeah.
And I think that's so important. It's, if you want to, people listening, if you want to change one major thing about your life, everybody knows where you're failing in your own life.
Yeah.
But if you don't change a behavior, how do you expect to get a different result?
Never will happen.
Exactly.
And this is one of the things I learned from Gary Keller. It's one of the main things I learned from Gary Keller. It's this phrase: start small to go big.
Yeah.
And I love that. Start small to go big, because you think about, remember climbing Kilimanjaro, right?
And you did this last year.
Did this year.
This year,
I
April.
summited in January.
Okay,
right?
awesome.
And one of our guides, right, Francis, because you start out and you're about 7,000 feet and you're going up to 19,000 feet.
Wow.
And every day you're looking at, I'm like, where are we going? He goes, we're going up there. And I went, oh my gosh, it's so far away. And I would get frustrated. And towards the the day before we were summiting, we had a really aggressive climb. And I was downtrodden. I was beaten, man. I was like, how are we going to do this? I saw the mountains now looming right in front of me.
Yeah, sure.
And Francis goes, hey, Bill. I'm like, what? He goes, keep your face 3 feet in front of your feet. I'm like, what the hell does that mean? Keep my face 3 feet? He said, what he meant was, in Swahili, he said, basically was telling me, don't look up there.
Right.
Look right here at the next step and the next step and the next step, right? Keep it small so that you can go big. And sure enough, 19,000 feet.
Next thing you know.
And it was, and it was just step by step, inch by inch. And that's what I would really encourage all of you is, if you got a big behavior that you've got to change, take it small, chunk it down. If you want to get up in the morning and earlier and have a little bit more time to do and invest time into yourself, and you're getting up at 7, don't go to 5 a.m.
Right.
You and I talked about this, right? Make it simple. Create the successes for yourself, because success breeds success. If you make it too big, sure, you do it one day, but it's not sustainable. Circle back around to Jim Rohn. Success is about small disciplines implemented over long periods of time.
That's amazing. Well, I think anybody listening to this today is going to get so much out of it. This was amazing.
Dude, I appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you
to do
so
this.
much.
I'm
And thanks
super
for all
grateful.
you've done. I mean, you've literally helped me from the day I stepped into this industry. I think I'd closed 8 deals when I met you, and I'm close to about 1,800 now. So to give you an idea, we've come a long way.
I cannot be more proud of you. And it isn't just the business you've created; it's the man you've become, and you're the reason why I do what I do. So, thank you, brother.
Thanks, my man.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Thanks again.
Yeah.